Hello everybody, I'm Dave Paling and welcome to my race footage from the Formula Sim Racing Pro Division race round 11 at the Temple of Speed, Monza. I'm just getting ready to go out to set my my fastest lap of the qualifying session, and with the current pole position time being set at a 1 minute 22.6, I'm feeling quite confident at this point because my personal best was a 122.8 in practice, so I'm feeling fairly confident that I can improve on the position that I'm sitting in at the moment, which is 16th place. However, throughout the qualifying session here, every single one of my laps was compromised. As per usual throughout the video, I'll pop up the information on the screen so you can see the position that I'm in at the top, and at the bottom just to the left is the lap I'm on, the lap time and the sector times, but that will be mainly for the race usage. So yeah, sitting in 16th place at the moment with a few difficult qualifying laps already put in by myself, which meant, although I'm fairly confident I can get closer to the front, there's the risk of not getting that lap time in, with this being my last attempt at a qualifying time here in Monza. It all comes down to this one lap. Also, after the frustrations of Hungary, obviously I want to start as high up as I can and improve. So here we go then, round the parabolica, setting myself up for my fastest lap of qualifying, hard on the power. DRS not open yet, the DRS line is not available until now, which seemed quite late for myself when I won F1 2016 and stuff like that. I'm sure the DRS line is much sooner, but anyway, hard on the brakes down into turn 1, no difficulties of locking up down there. Hard on the power now, heading up towards Curva Grande, and there's an awkward little bump in the middle of the corner just there. We have to be very careful with. Now into the second chicane, late on the brakes, hard on the brakes in qualifying. In the race, have to treat these corners so differently, quite smoothly through there. And now the Lesmos, the first one, get it tucked into the apex, try and get early on the power, don't run too far wide. Now the second Lesmo, it dips down, not using all of the curb, but for good reason. DRS wide open as we now get ready for Ascari, and I can see there's a little bit of traffic ahead of me up on the road. Braking now into Ascari. That car there puts me off a little bit, that puts me out of shape through Ascari. This is time just ticking away now, as I've also got more cars ahead of me that look like they're setting themselves up for their final lap of the session, and I'm kind of thinking, get out of my way, no, give me slipstream. But anyway, now round the parabolica, taking it in 4th gear in qualifying, hard on the power. Now I want the slipstream, and across the line we go. But unfortunately, it is still only 16th place with a lap time of a 123.655 and a very frustrated driver sat in the garage. My only consolation is quite a few of the top drivers did a similar time to myself. The likes of the championship leader David Cook and Felipe Giro. But now it's time to get ready for the race. And as the drivers line up in preparation, we get going for the formation lap, a crucial lap around this particular circuit. Obviously don't want to wear the tyres too much, but do need to have some good temperatures on those tyres and in the brakes. In the Pro Division race here at Monza, we're on for a 40 lap event, which will go quite quickly given the shortness of the circuit here and the high speed. Tyres available are the Super Softs, the red mark tyre, and the Softs, the yellow mark tyre. And I'm planning on a strategy here of running option prime option, whereas I know many people are struggling with wear, and we'll be looking at option prime. I'm going to have a quick run through the order. Johanny Allman in first place, my teammate. In second place we've got George Winter. In third we've got DeWald Nell, also an OFR driver. In fourth, Jordi Lopez. In fifth place we've got Juan Sanchez. And in sixth we've got Mark Hutchinson, who got disqualified from qualifying. In seventh, Harry Parvez. Eighth, Felix van Delft. Ninth, Cameron Roger. In 10th we have Javier Moyano. In 11th place we have David Cook, who's choosing to start from the pit lane. 12th, Lorenz Doherty. 13th, Dmitry Zarahov. In 14th, we've got Gerlof de Vries. 15th, Felipe Giro. In 16th is myself. And in 17th, O'Reilly, who's also started from the pits. 18th, Pascal Chapon. 19th, Jared van der Wiede. 20th, Corey Hudson. And in 21st, we have Sharjeel Riaz. 22nd is Theodoros Eziroglu. 23rd is Eugene van Logerenberg. 24th, Yoichi Uwara. And in last place is Mihailo Vicencevic. So as we now form up on the grid, getting ready for the start of the race with 4 cars starting from in the pits. You'll see a few spaces on the grid on the left there, for example, where Mark Hutchinson should have been not running the SRT, the anti-cheat during qualifying, meant he took her back to the grid, start from the pit lane penalty. As we wait now for the lights, not as long a wait as it was at Hungary with me starting much further back, but now I'm hoping for a good start to the race as the lights are on, and as soon as they go out, away we go. A little bit of wheel spin off the start there, but now we're heading down into turn 1. A lot of engine smoke coming from the cars ahead, but it looks like I've got myself a little bit of space all around me here, so taking nice and cautious into turn 1. Sure, give plenty of room to the car on the left of me, so that's a position gained already. Obviously should have gained a few more as well, but thankfully a clean start in the Pro Division at turn 1. I think it's the first of the season. As we head up to the second chicane, I'm leaving plenty of room ahead of me just in case anything happens, and it does. I think Felix van Delft has just been taken out there. We've got 3 cars off the track. It looks like Javier Moyano may have collected Felix van Delft there. So now I've gained a few more positions, and I've got Felipe Giro just ahead of me. So through the second Lesmo then, we'll have a look at what position I am in, and it is 11th place I'm up to. So the opening lap has been very friendly to me, very different compared to Hungary. Through the Ascari chicane we go, got to be careful here of dirty air, we're running out wide, and now the bump, that's evil. That's going to give Javier Moyano a good run on me now down towards the Parabolica. And we're showing the inside line because in the early stages of the race I won the racing line. Offline is very, very slippy, very dirty, but now I'm out wide. I've got 2 cars trying to pass me, Javier Moyano on the right of me. And now I'm confident of the top line speed of the Origin Floor racing car as we head up to turn 1 at the start of lap 2. And now Moyano's coming under attack from Dmitry Zarahov. He's trying to go through, so I'm going to let him go here. I want to make sure I get through the opening stage of this race. And that is my Dmitry Zarahov behind me on the prime tyre. So as I'm now a little wide around Curva Grande, giving him plenty of room, I'm going to be able to stay ahead in towards the second chicane. Well, thankfully though, a lap and a half gone without a spin or being collected, although an ACR car in the background has a big spin through the chicane. Thankfully I don't think he collected anybody there. It might have been Eugene van Logerenberg or Yoichi Uwara. Either way, I'm now behind Javier Moyano. He's put a little bit of a gap on me, but to be honest, I am taking it very, very cautiously in the opening couple of laps here. I need to look after these tyres if I want to make my strategy work. As I mentioned at the start of the formation lap, looking to run option, prime, option, whereas I think most drivers will be running option, prime, prime. But that means looking after these tyres and not locking them up at all. I also mentioned during the qualifying lap that braking into the second chicane, very different in the race, having to brake a lot earlier and a lot gentler. Braking as late as we do in qualifying just locks up the tyres, and they will only last about 6 laps and then they're cooked. So start to lap 3 then, and we're in 12th place at the moment as I'm closing in now on Moyano. See a huge train of cars just ahead of us that we are actually beginning to close in on a little bit. So even though I've lost the position early on, I'm not too worried about it. Especially with the strategy, because if cars are going to be running primes late and I'm running options, should be an advantage. But look at the braking point just before the bridge. The bump under the bridge does cause a lot of lockups with race fuel on if you wait until the bridge to brake. Through the Lesmo's tricky corner with the race fuel on as the car ahead goes rather wide there. And I'm dropping Zarahov behind me, who's running those prime tyres still. back towards the Ascari chicane. As I mentioned, dirty air through the Ascari is absolutely awful. As Giro trying to have a look at the car ahead of him. DRS will be, was available this lap, I believe. Definitely available for the next 37 laps anyway. Now these Red Mark Super Soft tyres, the average stint life on them around Monza, you're looking about 10 laps. And that's why I was saying that people will go for the option Prime, because the Prime tyres will comfortably do 15 laps and you can push them quite hard. Obviously though, they are a little bit slower. As I mentioned, it does mean I can't push these tyres too hard, although braking down into turn 1 is no problem at all. I'm not having any issues with lockups down there. But on lap 4 now, still running in 12th place. And Moyano is beginning to catch up the cars ahead quite a bit. And I'm not worried about this gap that's been created here, as long as the car behind us are catching me. As I said, Moyano beginning to catch the pack ahead. The way I see it is, you might be able to catch them, but can't get past. And if that's the case, then I'm just going to latch onto the back of this battle. And Moyano trying to catch up to Giro. As I said, DRS available. That'll be open any moment now. There we go. I may just be out. No, I'm within DRS range, so open up a gap on Zadahov behind. DRS to keep me in touch with the cars ahead. And I tell you what, Moyano got very, very close to Giro there, but got caught out with the dirty air into Ascari. Now, considering that my starting position, which I was absolutely fuming about, to be honest, I'm actually enjoying how this race is going so far. I'm just thinking, right, don't do what you did at Hungary. And I've had so much bad luck this season that if I can just get to the end now with no real issues, I could be on for a fantastic result, because this is kind of like doing a Hungary but without the spin in the opening lap. And now Moyano is on the back of Giro. This is allowing me to close the gap in, and I am managing to look after the tyres quite a lot here. Also boost, we're allowed to use boost, but it does use additional fuel. But around Monza we're able to run, got a sound of collision. It is a collision, that's a flag to flag car in the barrier. A tyre on the left as well bouncing down the road. And another flag to flag car. Looks like the both of those have had a coming together on the exit of the second chicane. So that's an additional couple of places for me. So that's up to 10th place. I'll take some of that, thank you very much. Now, I'm not going to show a replay of what happened to them there, but I have seen a replay, and it's a bit of an unfortunate one. One of the drivers, there was 3 flag-to-flag cars all line astern, and the lead one dipped a wheel in the gravel on the exit of the second chicane, and ended up collecting the car next to him. But now I'm gaining on Moyano quite a lot into the Parabolica. I think again he's had a poor Ascari. Definitely within DRS range, and looks like he may be trying to go a little bit defensive. Perhaps not, but DRS definitely open. His is not, so here we go then. Making a move down into turn 1. Got a car coming out of the pits. Thankfully he stayed well to the right there, giving me plenty of room to make the pass on Moyano. That moves me up to 9th place. Although he is trying to come back, but he got a wheel on the grass there. I'm going to defend into the second chicane, although I'm going to defend sort of middle of the road-ish, making it so if he wants to go into the second chicane attacking, it's going to be a very, very difficult one. And on the exit, big wiggle for him. That gives me a little bit of a breather. He's still within DRS range, but that little bit of a gap could be just enough to be safe heading into Ascari. That gap definitely opened up now. He will now have the DRS wide open, but it's only going to close the gap a little bit. But yeah, as I was mentioning with the boost, we were able to run a lot of fuel here and use a lot of boost. So pretty much use it on every single straight. I decided not to use it through the corners to try and assist the tyre life, as I was getting fairly aggressive wear on full boost all the way around the circuit. But as we complete lap 6 then, I'm now, as I mentioned, up to 9th place. A little bit of a gap to Giro up ahead, but he's got traffic, so now with me having a bit of free air, this is where I can use any tyre saving that I've been doing. I can put it into good effect to try and close that gap up. And Giro is all over the back of the car ahead of him though, and I think that may be Lorenz Doherty, driver that was also collected in the Turn 1 collision at Hungary along with myself. Giro really trying to put some pressure on him, but hasn't been able to get past since the start of the race. But obviously that yellow car ahead will have been getting DRS for the previous few laps from the car ahead of him. The third flag-to-flag car that's still on the track, so it's curl off to Fries. Giro though, see if we get a dirty air effect. Big lock up there. Oh, big sideways as well. That could give Giro a good opportunity heading down into the Parabolica. Although overtaking into the Parabolica might not be a good idea if you're going to give DRS. Car going defensive on the inside, but also going very, very late on the brakes. If Giro's got a better exit, he may be able to attack heading down into turn 1. End of lap 7, and I'm still in 9th place, and Giro can't quite catch the car ahead of him. It could mean he's saving fuel, or just watching the car ahead absolutely destroy his tyres. I see that I'm beginning to close in on Giro, but I've still got Moiano quite close behind me, so even though I'm focusing on what is happening up ahead of me, I can't ignore the fact that I have got cars closing in on me as well, as Giro tries attacking into the second chicane. This is costing the both of them quite a bit of time, which is allowing me to catch up quite nicely. And I mean, I am still in sort of tyre saving mode, but at the same time trying to push the lap times as best as I can at the moment. Again, it's a tricky set of corners with an evil little bump in the middle of the right-hander, just about there, which if your car's not quite set up right, that can spin you at any point. Although I must admit, from what I saw for the first half of the race here, no drivers really suffering with that particular one. Okay, on to lap 9 then. We're nearly a quarter of the way through the race, and we're getting close as well to the pit stop window. As I mentioned, 10 laps on the option tyres is probably about as long as a lot of drivers will go if they push the tyres hard. And, for example, the car ahead of Giro, every time he's locking up those tyres, it's costing him a lot of time, and it's knocking the amount of laps off that he can do. It does show that he's pushing those tyres to the absolute limit. Whereas for Giro and myself, we're not doing as much of a lock-up. Always a big plume of tyre smoke comes from the car ahead of Giro. This is allowing me to really close this gap in now into the Lesmos. Every time they smoke the tyres, it's going to hurt in the corners as well. All car going wide. Oh, it collected Giro. That's the both of them off the track. I don't know if there was any bodywork damage there at all, but either way, that has pretty much ruined Felipe Giro's race and absolutely gifted me 2 positions. So now up to 7th place. So even though I started 16th, I've now gained 9 places in the first 10 laps. Well, first 9 laps. So I'm feeling fairly happy at this point. I must admit, I am thinking maybe all of my bad luck from Hungary was all got rid of at Hungary, and coming into Monza, after a shocking qualifying, we're on for a cracking race. So start of lap 10 then, and as I mentioned, well, I'm now up to 7th place with Herloff de Vries ahead in 6th, and it looks like he's got Juan Sanchez just ahead of him. But we are, as I also mentioned, we are definitely into pit stop window phase now. So expect to see cars pitting this lap and the next lap. Well, at this point, I mean, the tyres, they're warm, they're hurting. Little plume of smoke coming from my tyres now. I mean, I've been looking after them, and I'm now getting plumes of smoke as I lock them up a little bit. whereas from what we've seen from a few of the other drivers, they've been locking them up a lot, which means that I have still got a good couple of laps left in these tyres. Always Moyano got very wide on the exit of the second Lesmo then. You see how these worn tyres cope with Ascari. Twitchy on the way in, there's the bump. But yeah, even though these tyres are worn, still giving me a comfortable amount of grip. So I am quite happy to continue on for another lap. I mean, all the way through this stint, I'm thinking, okay, look after your tyres, but be aware, if it's not going to be able to go the extra laps, then don't wait. If you wait that one extra lap, you lose a bucket load of time. But we have now got cars in the pit, so that moves me up to 4th place then at the start of lap 11. So now I am really thinking, okay, they're going to get an undercut, but I'm still in a very good position here, as Juan Sanchez is now ahead of me. So Herloff de Vries is definitely one of the cars that's pitted. Juan Sanchez in 3rd place, big plume of smoke off his tyres. Let's see how my tyres cope. No smoke, I'm happy with that. So still feeling comfortable with how the tyres are coping at the moment. To the Lesmos using 3rd gear. I must admit, 2nd Lesmo approaching 5th gear. Drop it down the 2 gears into 3rd, clip the apex nicely, try and avoid the exit curb as much as possible, especially when the tyres are worn. I mean, you can use the exit curb a bit, but the more worn the tyres are, the more treacherous it is. And obviously, you go a little bit too far, you can end up dipping the wheel in the gravel and visiting the barrier on the right-hand side of the circuit. Car still feeling nice through the Ascari chicane, which is a corner you can lose a ton of time when the tyres have really given up the ghost. Around the parabolica, taking it fairly cautiously, but that's a little bit like at Hungary. Cautious on this corner to look after that front left tyre, as we've got more cars in the pits now. And at the beginning of lap 12 then, I'm into the lead of the race. Yes! First time I've led a race in Formula Sim racing. Okay, it's been pit stop assisted, but I'm fairly pleased at the moment. Gone from 16th to 1st. Dmitry Sarahov behind me in 2nd place. He started the race on primes, so his primes are starting to get a little bit old now, as are my option tyres. But this has put me right on target for my strategy. Tyres are beginning to lock up now, so at the end of this lap it'll be the time to put on the prime tyre and run those prime tyres until there is 13 laps left of the race. That means doing a slightly longer stint on the primes compared to most people. However, it means having the option tyres at the end, and I will have to treat those option tyres very similarly to how I've treated this particular set. But either way, I do get to lead a race for 1 lap at least. And I mentioned at Hungary one of the stats being that I have completed the most amount of laps in Formula Sim Racing's Pro Division. One of the stats I had missing was having led a lap. So at least I can now tick that one off the box. Or at least put a 1 in there. So then, at the end of lap 12, into the pits we go. Tricky pit lane here to get it slowed down, get the pit limiter on, get it under 89 kilometers an hour, and then it's a slow run down the pit lane, finding the pit box as cars now come past us. And it'll be a case of where are we going to come back out on track as we put the prime tyre on, the yellow marked soft tyre. A lot of cars passing me, but it looks like I'm going to be rejoining the track in 11th place at the start of lap 13. I am just ahead of, that could be, Javier Moyano right behind me. So even though he may have had the opportunity for an undercut, it's not quite worked for him. And this is one of the reasons why I didn't mind going the extra laps, because the undercut around here does not have a massive effect. We're now on the prime tyre. I've got to get used to how this is handling, as Corey Hudson is ahead of me on very old prime tyres. So I'd expect to see him pitting within the next 3 or 4 laps. As I said, we can take the prime tyre 15 laps around Monza and push them quite hard. If you look after them, they'll do 18-19. Obviously at this point I don't know if he's got old tyres on or anything like that, as I'm stuck on cockpit view, but I can tell that I am gaining on him on the timing sectors that we have on screen. I can also see the big plumes of dust, which is a telltale sign that someone's running a little bit wide. Now obviously if there are cars that have started the race on the prime tyre, when they pit, that'll let me know what position I'm really sort of in at the moment. So I'm now going to be waiting for cars to make their stops, and they are. Corey Hudson's one of them. So into the pits he goes. So at the start of lap 14 then, move up to 10th place. I'm surprised that Corey Hudson had to pit when he did, having started on the prime tyre. I've still got Moyano behind me running the prime tyre, and Herloff de Vries ahead of me, also on the prime tyre. I think we've got a few cars just ahead of him as well that are yet to stop. And we can see there's a good 4 cars right ahead of Herloff de Vries here. So if I can close in the gap to Herloff, it could bring me into a nice little battle and a very, very good chance of a fantastic result here in Monza. Now with drivers having started the race from the pit lane, like the likes of David Cook and David O'Reilly, I would have expected them to start on the prime tyre. I think they're 2 of the cars that are ahead of us at this moment in time. And I was a little surprised that David Cook actually chose to start from the pit lane. I mean, he did say after this race that one of the reasons for that was he was not impressed with his qualifying at all. He decided to start from the pits so that anything that happened on that first lap he would avoid and just gain places. But to be honest, there was not a whole lot that happened on that first lap. Okay, yeah, there was 2 cars involved in a collision, but nobody out of the race on that first lap. And we have got more cars into the pits then. So at the start of lap 15, that moves me now up into 7th place. Okay, not necessarily overtakes that, but this is now giving me more information, or a more direct picture of where I am in this race at the moment. So 7th place, I'm fairly happy with that, and I am beginning to close in the gap now to Herloff de Vries as well. A big puff of smoke there coming off the prime tyres as I pushing these a little bit more, shall we say. As I mentioned, you can push the prime tyres a little more than the options around this track. They can handle it that little bit better while lasting that little bit longer as well. All the way through the race, I'm keeping an eye on how much boost I'm using, how much additional fuel I'm using, making sure that I'm hitting my fuel targets to be able to run the car as quickly as possible all the way to the end of the race. While also keeping an eye on the timing screen that I have in the top left corner when I'm driving, which is letting me know that I am catching the cars ahead of me. So at this point I'm thinking, okay, if we're all on the prime tyres and I'm catching them, fantastic, because we've got another car into the pits then. So that's going to be 6th position then at the start of lap 16. So this is an even better position than I was in before the pit stops. So yeah, looking very, very good now. But yeah, as I was saying, catching the cars ahead, and if they're all on the prime tyres and I'm catching them, then that means I'm in a very, very good situation. Because if they do run primes again and I run the options at the end, I should effectively be faster, giving me a very good opportunity. Oh, a little out of shape on the entry into the second chicane. Yeah, give me a much better opportunity of gaining or overtaking, or potentially maybe even getting somewhere near the podium towards the end of this race. However, if the cars ahead of me are on the option tyres, then that is even better for me, because I am beginning to, I am catching them up. So if I'm on the harder tyre and I'm catching them up, it means they're absolutely killing their tyres. Now visually it might not look like I'm closing that gap in much at all, but I am, little by little, I am closing in to Herloff de Vries, who's got Juan Sanchez just ahead of him. There's one of the, oh, we've got a car in the barrier, that's one of the back markers. I think that might have been the car that we saw on in the opening few laps. Oh, we do have a car into the pits, however that doesn't gain me a position, so I'm guessing those two have had a little bit of a coming together there. A couple of the back markers having a little race of their own. The cars ahead getting very, very close together now, really fighting it out. And I was saying that one of the things I've seen here is as soon as two cars start fighting, it slows them both down a huge amount. So Herloff here trying to have a look at Juan Sanchez and needs sort of eking down that gap a little bit. Looking back from Juan Sanchez at Herloff then as they go through Lesmo 1 and now Lesmo 2. Herloff is going to have DRS, but looking to the Ascari chicane, it's not an easy place to overtake. You have to be right up the rear end of the car ahead of you to really have any good opportunity to get past or have a huge tyre advantage. DeWalt now running in third place, so fourth and fifth, about the length of the back straight behind DeWalt now. And you can see here I'm definitely now closing that gap in, and I am bringing Javier Moyano along with me as well. So Moyano looking like he's in a very strong position at the moment. Starting lap 19 then starting lap 18, still in 6th place at the moment as we've got a car moving out of the way at the start of the pit entry, I mean, as Herloff and Juan Sanchez still fighting it out up ahead. Obviously as I'm following them, I think, come on, keep fighting, nudge each other, gives me 4th place, I'll have some of that. I mean, this is a circuit where, yes, you get a massive bonus of slipstream down the straights here, but following a car through the corners, the dirty air effect, it's absolutely phenomenal. It can make it very, very difficult. Nice third gear corner, although the Lesmos are quite tricky. I do like that second Lesmo. Hold it 5th gear on approach, drop it down to 3rd, and as the car gets lighter, you may even be able to pop it into 6th gear on the approach to the second Lesmo as well. Now through Ascari, car feeling very, very stable at this point. Now, I'm not exactly hitting fastest lap times or anything like that, but I'm just trying to do what I need to do to catch the cars ahead and manage the level of tyre wear on this particular set of tyres, because if I do want to go to that option set at the end, I do have to look after these tyres a little bit to get those extra 2 or 3 laps out of the tyres. Heading down into turn 1, I can still see the cars ahead of me battling it out, and this is just letting me close in more and more and more. It's taken a while, but there's still a long, long way to go in this race. We're on lap 19 now, so still 21 laps to go in this particular race. To the second chicane, nicely on the brakes, took it into that first curb and the second curb, get on the power, head up to Lesmo 1, drop it down to 4th and 3rd to tuck it into the apex, up to 4th, up to 5th, up to 6th, missed the apex a little bit, and now round wide, dip a wheel in the gravel, and that's the front wing gone, and that's positions being handed to Javier Moyano now. What a disaster. Obviously I knew that was coming though, but I mentioned what I did on the previous lap, moving going up to 6th gear on approach to the Lesmo. That was the cause of the incident here. Went up to 6th, dropping it down to 3rd, took longer than I needed, missed the apex, dipped a wheel in the gravel, lose the front wing. Luckily don't lose the rear wing, but now I've got to get back to the pits with no front wing, and okay, damage on the car, not good. But what's even worse is I'm now sat here thinking, okay, I was looking at doing 18 laps on the prime tyre. Can I now get a set of primes 21 laps? Maybe. Right, let's give it a go. Let's give it a go. I tell you what though, in hindsight, it was a bad decision. What I should have done at this point is just put a set of option tyres on and accepted the fact I would have had to have pitted again and put another set of option tyres on, but that's not what I do. Okay, into the pits then. I come in 7th place. It's going to be a long pit stop to replace the front wing As I mentioned, another set of prime tyres going on. Also, I'm smacking myself in the face about this one. I should have gone for the option tyres here, but hindsight is a wonderful thing. The way I was looking at it was, for me to rescue anything from this race, I need to go all the way to the end. And as I rejoin the track, I'm about to lose another position to Felix van Delft, who's going to take 16th place off me and put me down to 17th. Now, Felix, I've got to know him a little bit over the last few races, having done World Championship commentary with him. Seems a nice enough guy. However, he's the car ahead of me, and he is now my target. I want to go past Felix. I want to go past. So now I'm in a situation of I have to try and ignore the ridiculous mistake that I've just made, while also not fearing the second Lesmo, and also making sure that I do not go into 6th gear on approach at all. It sounds like such a stupid, simple thing, but it is a case of going up into that 6th gear. It adds a fraction of a second on approach to the corner of being able to get down to 3rd gear. That fraction of a second alters the speed you approach to the corner, meaning I missed the apex, ran a little bit wide and dipped a wheel in the gravel by about half an inch. And that's how frustrating that is. But at the same time, though, in many respects, if I'm going to have something ruin one of my races, then I prefer it to be my own mistake than being shunted off by someone. Okay, as we start lap 21, as mentioned, in 16th place, and I think we're in a familiar position now. What can we salvage from this one then? I mean, at Hungary and at previous races this season, I've been able to recover very, very well when I've had damage or I had problems with the tyres and had to do an additional stop. But Monza being the track that it is, it's potentially going to be a lot more difficult to try and recover anything here, because cars are lapping so fast. The amount of time lost from the point of losing the wing and getting out of the pits is a huge, huge amount. So now I'm in the situation of thinking, okay, let's see if we can make these tyres last. The only way we can make them last is to really, really look after them, which is why I'm not too fussed at the moment about pushing hard to try and catch Felix ahead of me. I'm thinking, well, he's probably got another pit stop to make anyway, as have pretty much everybody else on the circuit. So I'm not going to focus on him, I'm just going to focus on my tyre wear as lap 22 gets underway. And he's still in 17th place, but I'm not expecting the pit window to really open until another, what, 3 to 6 laps. I mean, within 3 laps, anyone pitting for another set of prime tyres, they'll be making their stops. That'll put them on 15 and 15 for the primes. And anyone that's going to think about going for the option tyres at the end, they're going to be wanting to go until about lap 28. I am now beginning to close in on Felix, but that, I believe, is mainly because his tyres are really beginning to give up the ghost. And to be fair to Felix, the only reason he's down in this position is because he was collected on the opening lap at the second chicane. The car got completely out of shape, ended up going through the chicane backwards and hit into the side of Felix, which put him way out of position, and also, I believe, had a little bit of damage. So pretty much ruined Felix's race, but at least we can now have a little bit of a battle. It's one of those situations where if you end up bumped down towards the back of the field, as long as you've got people to race, it's not too bad. If you haven't, it becomes a very, very boring, lonely place to be. So start to lap 23 then. We're still in 17th place. This is a little bit like a phase of the Hungary race. Yep, 15th place for about 10 laps. Now I'm closed that gap in even more on Felix now, as his tyres really are going to be giving up the ghost. And Indeed, tyres on R-Factor 2 here that Formula Sim Racing are using, they're pretty good, give a fairly decent amount of grip, but once they start going off, what is happening to Felix is what happens, you go to press the brake and the car just does not want to stop. You go to turn into a corner and it doesn't want to turn. It costs you a hell of a lot of lap time. I'm thinking, okay, dirty air, let's be careful here. I've had a bit of experience of it earlier on in the race, but not a lot. And now with DRS, he goes defensive. And locks you up big time, but dirty air has meant I've not slowed down as nicely as I would have liked to. And you can see just how much that has cost me through a scarring. As I was saying, the dirty air effect is huge around Monza. I mean, even the Parabolica, what is a seemingly simple corner, does become a very, very tricky corner as Felix now into the pits. So that's going to give me an additional position at the start of lap 24 then. So that's actually, I'm now up to 14th. So managed to gain a few places, so I would believe there's a few cars into the pits, and I've now got Cameron Roger ahead of me. So Cameron Roger is now my next target. So yeah, we've got to that next phase, that next pit window, which means anyone that is pitting now, they're definitely putting on a set of prime tyres to try and reach the end of the race. But I'm now at a point where I'm thinking, okay, I've done a fair few laps, and it's time to work out whether my tyre wear is going to allow me to reach the end of the race or not. And trying to drive around any circuit, let alone a quick one like Monza, while trying to do a little bit of mathematics, it's not easy, especially when you're not good at maths. So as I'm approaching Ascari here, I'm trying to work out, okay, amount of laps left, divided by amount of tyre wear percentage left, okay, I haven't got enough tyre. I don't think these tyres are going to make it to the end. Which means if that is the case, I am going to have to pit again, and there's no point pitting again for another set of prime tyres. So if I do have to pit, then I'm going to have to pit and put a set of option tyres on. So beginning of lap 25 then, still running 14th place. But yeah, working out the calculations and realising, okay, I'm not going to be able to get to the end of the race. That now means I can absolutely push these tyres hard. I've realised I've made a stupid error by putting what effectively was the wrong set of tyres on. It means that I can now just absolutely batter these tyres. They're used to doing 15 laps, 15 to 18 laps, and I'm probably going to do what? Let's see, I pitted end of lap 19. I'm probably only going to do about 9-10 laps on them. So I am going to absolutely hammer them. I mean, to be fair, they'll take it until the wear gets quite low. But I have now got Felipe Giro behind me. I'm not sure what he's doing there down in 15th here. Actually, having said that, we did see earlier on that he was involved in a collision, wasn't he? So a frustrating race for Felipe. I mean, he'll be wondering as well why I'm down here now, but he'll find out after the race. So with the pit window wide open, you may be able to gain a couple of places here, but obviously anyone that's pitting now could potentially get an undercut on me as we do move up to 13th place at the start of lap 26. Obviously I can't pit yet for the option tyres as Eugene van Logerenberg is the car ahead of me in 12th and Giro behind me in 14th. Yeah, I can't pit yet for the option tyres. At best they'll last 13 laps if they're looked after. So I have to keep going until at least the end of lap 26, possibly the end of lap 27. Obviously the fewer laps I do on the options, the better it is, but at the same time I can't run this particular set of prime tyres too long and do a really short stint on the options, otherwise there won't be enough time, enough laps left to gain anything back. It's more a case of, right, put the option tyres on with enough, just enough laps capable of being done, to be honest. and to get the absolute maximum out, the least amount of time lost. Giro being behind me, it's a bit of a devastating position for him regarding the driver's standings. And I mentioned for the Hungary race, I'm sitting in 5th place, as I now move up to 12th place at the start of lap 27. So we do still have cars making their pit stops. Yeah, I'm sitting in 5th place in the Drivers' Championship, and Felipe Giro is sitting in 3rd place. De Woldnell in 2nd, and David Cook in 1st. So this for Felipe Giro is a pretty devastating position for him to be in, to be honest. And you can see now I really am punishing these tyres too much, so I've missed the second part of the second chicane. A little bit of frustration coming out there, I think. Saw the big lock-up on approach to the second chicane. But that's the thing with these tyres, I mean, you can brake hard for that corner for the first 4 or 5 laps, no problem. But you get to lap 6 or 7 and all of a sudden, where you were braking and being fine, all of a sudden you're braking and locking up. We're leaving huge 11s down the road. And then even if you start braking earlier, they just lock up. Whereas if you brake earlier from the beginning, you never have that situation of the tyres just beginning to lock up for you. But obviously I am now really hammering these tyres as I prepare myself to move over into the pit lane and put on a set of option tyres. And here we go then, so into the pits in 12th place to get rid of the yellow marked soft tyre, and put on the red marked super soft tyre. So at the start of lap 28 then, so I'm going to have 12 laps, 12 laps on this particular set of tyres. But I am going to rejoin the circuit in 17th place as Cameron Roger now approaches. He was ahead of me earlier on. He is pitted quite some time ago on his prime tyres. He pitted 2 or 3 laps ago, put on a set of prime tyres. So now I am racing Cameron Roger for position, but I'm also curious as to where Felix van Delft is, because obviously I was racing with Felix a little earlier on. Well, the answer is he's just ahead of Cameron Roger. Not too far ahead, but far enough ahead to not be within DRS range. So Felix, I believe, pitted before Cameron, and Cameron pitted some time before me. But obviously I now have the super soft tyre on, and I'm in a situation where I can't afford to punish these tyres too soon. If I start pushing them hard and locking up or getting too sideways, they simply will not get to the end of the race. However, for Cameron Roger ahead of me, he can pretty much push those tyres as hard as he likes. Around the parabolica then for the 28th time, just out of DRS range but getting a benefit of the slipstream. Starting lap 29 then. As I mentioned, Felix is just ahead. We can see him in the distance there. He's in the braking zone, or caught up to Cameron Roger quite a lot. That is one of the benefits of the option tyre. They do it's braking, turning and acceleration is where they get their maximum benefit. Now Cameron Roger is one of the flag-to-flag drivers that was involved in the collision between teammates in the opening laps of the race. So we've now got Felix van Delft, Cameron Roger and myself all recovering from incidents at some point earlier in the race. And now pretty much trying to fight it out for what will effectively be 15th place. Now going through Ascari now becomes a little easier than when I was on the prime tyre. However, with it being so easy, the temptation is to really push the car through that corner The problem is, if you do that, he doesn't like it. It will destroy the tyres. So start at lap 30 then, 10 laps to go, sitting in 17th place. And I mentioned earlier on, this particular circuit is not as easy to recover a huge loss of positions given the nature of the circuit. Whereas somewhere like Hungary, the nature of that track does benefit or does help being able to gain more positions. Into the Lesmos then, and now I've got to be careful of dirty air. The closer I get to Cameron ahead, the more effective the dirty air is going to be, but I am now just about within DRS range. It's a good sort of rule of thumb: if you're within DRS range, you're within dirty air range. On the brakes into Ascari then, so coping with it alright on this occasion. So about a second away, the dirty air is not too bad. That's copable. At this stage as well, I can tell that both myself and Cameron are catching up to Felix van Delft a little bit, so I'm also not in too much of a rush here. I know that I'm on the quicker tyre. I also know that there's still 9 laps of this race to go now. Heading down into turn 1, and not only is Felix van Delft just ahead, there is another car just ahead of him as well. So as Cameron Rogers really pushing hard to catch up to Felix, I'm pretty much just sitting here thinking, okay, that's fine, it's pulling me along as well. I need to look after the tyres, so let's not do anything too stupid. There's a little puff of smoke from the flag to flag car there. Now the Lesmos are 2 treacherous corners when it comes to dirty air. You really can't afford to dip a wheel on the gravel as I showed earlier, even though that wasn't through dirty air. And much closer on this occasion, DRS will be available again. This will help me close that gap up quite nicely. This may be able to prepare a move to turn 1. The dirty air now, and look at the understeer there, that affects us through all 3 parts of Ascari. And now I'm quite far behind. I'm now outside of DRS range. That's a frustrating situation. I mean, to be honest, I should have learnt from earlier on and just braked that little bit sooner. And looking back now from Cameron Rogers, you can see how much time that cost me. But I do now move up to 16th place, and Cameron Rogers up to 15th place as the car makes a pit stop. Quite a late stop, to be honest, that one, so it could have been for repairing damage. So as I'm now trying to close that gap in again, I'm kind of banging myself on the head thinking, come on Dave, don't get caught out by the dirty air. However, it's going to be just as effective on this lap as well. But at the same time, I'm thinking, okay, if I'm getting so affected by dirty air heading into Ascari, I mean, everywhere else I'm pretty much coping with it just about alright. But Ascari is a big problem. And even from this distance, it can cause an effect. However, much better through Ascari on this occasion. That will allow me to close the gap up. But I am thinking to myself, okay, well, Cameron is catching up to Felix van Delft. When he does that, he's going to get the dirty air. Okay, let's not panic here, let's not rush. Because if he does get affected by the dirty air, then that will just give me every opportunity to catch up even quicker and potentially get past the both of them. As we now start lap 33. It's still in 16th place, and considering what I've just mentioned, what I decide to do here as Cameron now has caught up to the back of Felix van Delft, I now decide to have a little bit of a cool down lap. In other words, I'm not going to push the brakes, I'm not going to push the tyres, I'm just going to let Cameron Rogers have a go at Felix and see what happens, and see if it's going to just allow me to close the gap in anyway. I'm trying to break the dirty air effect for myself, because if something was to happen between those two, having the faster run at them could benefit. You can already see though that Cameron's sort of dropped off from the back of Felix a little bit, which has already allowed me to gain on the back of him. So he's already been dirty air affected, which means that with myself now in DRS range, you see how much I've been able to close that gap back up, braking earlier, getting it turned in earlier to avoid the dirty air, well not avoid, but counteract the dirty air effect. So leaving that little bit of a gap for sort of the first quarter of the lap, it kind of paid off. So I'm now thinking, okay, there's no point rushing here, Dave. No point rushing whatsoever. So as we get ready to start lap 34 though, he's still running in 16th place, which frustratingly is one position out of the points. And if there's something that I would like to achieve from this race, it would be to finish in the points. Now Cameron has caught up to Felix again, but in the braking zone I've closed that gap up as well. Curva Grande, it's a fairly simple corner, but like a Sky, it's got a bump in the middle of it, which makes it a little tricky. As Cameron Rogers locking up those prime tyres, he's obviously pushing those brakes quite hard. Through the Lesmos then, and Cameron's really going to be affected by the dirty air now. So this is where I'm sat here thinking, okay, let's see how he gets on in a scarring. Because if he's not ready for that dirty air, this is going to cost him a lot of time. And it looks like he has run a little bit wide on both parts of Ascari, and you can see how much I've gained on him there. Now, okay, you could say you should have been a lot closer there, you could have overtaken him. But obviously if I get closer, then get affected by the dirty air. So it's all tactical at the moment. Cameron's potentially within DRS range now on Felix van Delft. I can't imagine Felix will give a position away easily as we now start lap 35. Cameron having a look at the inside into turn 1, but thinks better of it. This now allows me to get right on to the back of them. Obviously I've had a few more laps of coping with the dirty air. I've cooled down my tyres a little bit to try and extend the tyre life as well. So now I'm thinking, okay, it's time to get ready to take advantage of any situation. And interestingly enough, just ahead of Felix is Felipe Giro, who has not pitted since we last saw him. So he's running a set of prime tyres, very long here. Oh, Cameron Roger, big sideways moment. That's going to put him under pressure. Oh, DRS wide open for myself. Have a look at the inside into Ascari. Is the move on? It's not easy to go up the inside, but the move is on. Just managed to get ahead. However, this could give Cameron a good run on me heading down towards the Parabolica. I'm not going to defend the inside here. I'm going to stick to the racing line for a couple of reasons. One of them being for a bit of a switchback, and if he's ahead of the detection point just there, then it means that I get DRS down the start finish. So even though he's managed to sneak ahead, I am now going to try and repass heading down into turn 1. This is the opportunity that I need to take on him, and I managed to do so into turn 1. I now need to try and open up a little bit of a gap and get onto the back of Felix van Delft as quickly as possible, and hope to try and overtake him as quickly as possible as well, because Cameron's been looking fairly quick on his prime tyres. Well, not many laps left in this race, and I am keeping a very close eye on the amount of tyre wear I have got available from this particular set of tyres, and to be honest, it's looking very touch and go as to whether I can get it to the end of the race. Heading down to Ascari then, Cameron will have DRS available. However, he's so close to the back of me, he's going to get the dirty air now. You can see that gap has opened up just enough to give me a bit of a breather, and also hopefully to latch on to Felix van Delft's slipstream, because that will help hugely down into turn 1. especially if I'm not within DRS range, which I think is very, very close as to whether I've got DRS or not. So start to lap 37 then. Felix almost looking at going defensive. Cameron having a look at the inside but doesn't go for it. Felix getting twitchy, under braking into turn 1. That puts me right on to the back of him now. We are excuse me, that I am now obviously up to 15th place. I actually think it might actually be 14th place. My apologies there. But yeah, we're in the last few laps of this race now. I'm surrounded by cars on the prime tyres. However, they've probably got a little bit more life left. Oh, Cameron Roger though, you were very lucky there. He very nearly did what I did earlier on. Could have so easily have ended up in the barrier. We can see Giro ahead on those old prime tyres. I mentioned that once they start locking up, that's it. There's nothing you can do about it. They'll just keep doing it as the wear comes down, and that's exactly what's happening for him. But that's allowing Felix van Delft to really close in on Felipe, and I'm catching up to Felix quite quickly now as well. So heading on to the start-finish then, and Felix is going to have DRS available here. May be able to have a look at passing Felipe Giro as we start lap 38. But no, he doesn't go for a move into turn 1. Again, I closed that gap up on the way into turn 1. Now heading up to the second chicane where braking is so difficult on worn tyres as Felipe locks up again. Now I'm so close to Felix, I can almost pat him on the head. Taking a different line through the first Lesmo there to try and avoid any dirty air effect. And I'm so close now that I am thinking, okay, half an opportunity of going for a move here with DRS. However, Felix has got DRS, so he's going to be quick in a straight line. He's going to have a look at going past Felipe Giro. Giro defends quite nicely. That slows Felix down. This now means that I'm going slow, and Cameron Roger is right on my gearbox. He'll be going quicker than either of us. But now, right at the back of Felix, a bit of a Mansell switch there with the inside line now into the Parabolica. Managed to just squeeze ahead of Felix van Delft, and Cameron Roger trying to follow me through as well. All three of us are going to get DRS here. I'm now onto the back of Giro's slipstream as we begin at lap 39. I pull over, and Cameron Roger, he's going up the inside as well. So 3 wide into turn 1, becomes 2 wide into turn 1. Give Cameron plenty of room. He gives me just enough as well. There was a tiny bit of contact in there as Felix gets a little sideways on the exit as well. But that is now myself moved up another couple of positions, but Cameron Roger right behind me, really putting some pressure on as we both lock up a little bit into the second chicane. So lap 39 then, we've got this and 1 lap to go. I'm now up to 13th place, I believe it is. So I'm thinking, okay, I'll take that. This has been a very interesting end to the race. As I'm heading up to Ascari now though, I am thinking, okay, I've got to be careful of Cameron Roger behind. He's been looking fairly quick in a straight line. I can't allow him to get anywhere near close to me. Not too bad through Ascari there, but Cameron is still close behind, just within DRS range as I head into the Parabolica for the second to last time. As I exit the corner and make my way up to turn 1, there is one daunting realisation that hits me right in the face, and that is that little bit of a battle, although it may not seem like much, has put my tyre wear into a very, very dangerous situation. The front tyres are more worn than I was hoping they would be, which means the car's not going to handle too nicely, and it isn't handling nicely at all, which is allowing Cameron Roger to close the gap up on me. See, I'm running wide there through through Curva Grande, locking up into the second chicane, missed the apex. That's going to put me slow on the second apex. The front end just isn't gripping at all now. Into the Lesmos, I'm hoping to dear God it doesn't run too far wide, but as you can see, it very nearly went off the track. So now taking it cautiously through the second Lesmo, but Cameron Roger now all over the back of me. DRS available. My tyres have absolutely hit the cliff now, as he has a look at the inside, which I don't defend. So through he goes, but no. Yeah, I closed my eyes on that one. Told you the tyres were dying, and I'll cut the corner now to make sure I don't get in Felipe or Felix van Delft's way, but such a frustrating end to the race. I mean, I didn't defend the inside of Ascari there because I knew if I did, there's a good chance I'd end up going deep in the corner and knocking him off the track. So let him through instead to try and re-attack a little later in the lap, but no, looked like I caught a tiny bit of the curb and with the extra wear, the car just could not handle the change of direction. So in the end, a very disappointing 15th place finish, but have a look at the replay here of the overtake on Felix and Felipe and fending off Cameron Rogers. A very slow run through Ascari, which gave Felix half a chance on Giro, but an even better opportunity for myself on Felix here into the final corner. Now with Giro ahead of me, giving me the benefit of the slipstream and DRS, which will be available. Giro driving very nicely there, making sure we know exactly where his car is. Cameron Roger trying to work his way up the inside, giving him plenty of room on the apex of the corner, and I said there's a little bit of contact, and there it was. He ran a little deep and gave me a nudge, but not too much of a problem. I managed to just stay ahead. And now the very disappointing end to the race here. Cameron Roger up the inside. As I said, I don't defend it. And then just there, clip the curb, around she goes, front wing gone, tyres dead. See the cars coming behind, let them through. And then cross the line with no front wing, and a very disappointing end to the race. But also a very exciting race. Anyway, that's all from me here in Monza. Next up will be the night race at Singapore, a track I must admit I do love, and I'm hoping to have a much better result there. So come and join me for that.